Oh, there's Diane. Oh, I got
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Everyone is muted. If everyone wants to say hello, they'll need to unmute themselves.
Hello.
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 I
Hello.
encourage everyone to unmute themselves.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, 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 hello.
Good morning. Good morning.
Unmute yourselves, please.
Hello.
If you want to say hello. Hello, Bill.
Good to see you.
Hi, Mom. Hi,
Likewise, you,
Diane.
Mr.
Hi,
Kate.
Karen.
Hi, Carrie. Hi,
Kelly.
Hi, Diane. Hi, Carrie.
Hi,
Hi,
Sue.
Amy.
People I don't know.
Happy belated birthday,
also-
Carrie.
Oh,
Who
thank
else
you,
is
Josh,
here?
and my sister.
Hello. Good morning, Sarah. You'll have to unmute yourself if you wanna say hello.
Good
Let's
morning.
see. Karen, Adrian, Mary Jo. Good morning. Unmute yourself if you want to say hello. Kevin, how are you this morning? Good to see you. Let's see. Okay, very good. People are going to be joining as we go.
Well, good morning to you too, Philip. Thanks for snubbing me.
Who? Josh?
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't see you. Josh, good morning. Where's Serena? Is she here as well?
She is actually on Santa Cruz Island with her.
So she's snubbing us.
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, listen, I'm going to ask everyone to mute themselves again since we've all said hello. We are going to have Q&A at the end. And if you want to ask a question in process, do not hesitate to enter it in the chat. But there will be Q&A proper at the end. So I know almost everyone here, a few I don't. My name is Philip Dobard. I'm president of the Center for Culinary Culture. We are a nonprofit organization that tells the story of food and drink. We do that through exhibits, which we can't mount because COVID-19. We do that through educational programming, which we cannot do in person because COVID-19. And we do media. Media we can do in the midst of a pandemic. And so we welcome you here this morning. We've been programming in LA and greater LA since summer of 2013 under a couple of different names. Center for Culinary Culture is the name now and forever. And this is a brand new series titled Morning Call. And the first edition of Morning Call is titled Coffee Unleashed, Cupping Brazil with Kelly Abbott and William Murad. Or Kelly, does he say Murad?
Let me unmute. No, Murad, you're right.
Murad. Okay, very good. So that was Kelly, everybody. Kelly is owner of Unleashed Coffee. And William's the founder, correct, Kelly?
Correct.
Okay, very good. So Kelly is with us this morning. William is in Brazil on his family's coffee farm, and they are experiencing an electrical storm. That's not something we really ever see in LA, but it is something seen often in subtropical and tropical regions, and they are in the midst of one as we speak. So he's going to try to join us as advertised, but he is at the mercy of the climatological and telephonic gods. Or telephony gods. So anyway, I'm going to hand the screen over to, well, let me give a little bit of backstory. Let me tell you how I know Kelly. Carrie Moynihan, whom everyone should be able to see there, she's waving. The Center for Culinary Culture has a media division, and it's known as Eats Drinks TV. Carrie and I have known each other for years now, and we met via whiskey, go figure. We are a spirited pair, and so together we serve as executive producers of Eats Drinks TV, and we're producing a large, okay, it's getting large and growing slate of culinary media, all things food and drink. Carrie has a twin sister, Kelly Abbott, who owns a coffee store. I think she trained as an educator, yes, and has taught for many years. but she's also a coffee expert and a coffee evangelist. So we are very lucky to have her with us this morning. Kelly, the floor is yours.
Thank you. And thank you for having me on your first episode. I'm so excited to be here today.
Good to have you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm going to assume you're all coffee drinkers. Yes? Okay.
No pushback.
Show of hands, how many of you got the kit so that you can do this along with me today? Okay, good. All right, so we're going to be doing a pour over method. I don't know, not knowing what kind of coffee expertise was going to be joining us today, I did send these little pour over filters. If you do have your own pour over set at home, you are welcome to use it. You don't have to use these. But if you don't have a pour over set, that's why I want to make sure that you have these. Pour over is probably the easiest way to brew coffee with the least amount of equipment. And it's also one of the most tasty, I think. There's a lot of elements that go into what the final taste of your coffee how it comes out. All the way from the farm, which I'm hoping, crossing my fingers, that William's gonna be able to join us later so that he can talk to you about some of the farm processes, because taste does come from it starts with the coffee at the farm, and then when you get to the roasting part, roasting has an element that changes the taste, obviously, and then you're brewing, right? And there's a lot of tips that I'm going to give you. Once you get your coffee, what you can do with it at home, from when you get it at the store to when you brew it, how you can take care of your coffee and how you can brew it. So I'm going to give you some tips so that you can control that piece. Obviously, you can't control the farming piece and you can't control the roasting piece. But if you buy high quality coffee, then you can trust that you've gotten good farmed and good roasted coffee, and then you can take care of the rest of it at home. But if you purchase poor quality coffee, it doesn't matter what the roaster does, it doesn't matter what you do, you're not going to have a good cup. Vice versa, if you buy good farmed coffee, are you guys getting feedback, or am I just hearing that from my phone? That's
None
okay.
here.
As long as it's not distracting you, because it's kind of distracting me. Anyway, if you have good coffee that's farmed well, and then you have a roaster that botches it, again, no matter what you do to it, it's not going to do a whole lot. But if you have good quality coffee off the shelf, or if you order it online, which a lot of people are ordering everything online these days, which is great, right? Easy. We don't have to leave our house to go mingle with people with masks, right? Anyway, what you can do with it, I'm going to show you some things that you can do to control the taste of your coffee so that you have a good cup at the end. How many people go to a coffee shop and they get their coffee and they're like, oh, so good. And then you go home and you make your coffee and you're like, just not ever the same. And then you're like, why bother making it at home? I'm just going to go to Starbucks and pay $5 for my coffee. And then you're like, oh, why is it $5 for my coffee? Right? So I'm going to talk to you about some things that will help, hopefully. First of all, how many people buy pre-ground coffee? Pre-ground. Only one. Two. Oh, Carrie. Okay. Okay. How about,
Not all
let's
the
see.
time, and not since you've been selling coffee, because you get mad at me.
Yeah, well, this is true. All right. Show of hands, how many people own a Keurig? Only two? Really? Yay, bravo. Okay, I am a former Keurig owner. I went through 4 before I gave it up. The Keurig is extremely convenient, makes a very quick cup of coffee, very low mess, but it does not make a delicious cup of coffee. There's lots of reasons for that. It also is not obviously environmentally friendly, but you can't control any of the variables in a Keurig. It already comes in a little K-cup. You can't control how much grounds are in there. You can't control the size of the grounds that are in there. You can't control the water temperature. You can control the amount of water a little bit. Some of them have 12 cup or 12 ounce cup or a 16 ounce cup or an 8 ounce cup. I think some of the newer models have a little bit more control, but really not much. You can't control the brew time, which is a big deal also. So if you can't make any adjustments, you can't make it any better. So although it's convenient, it's not all that great. So I used to be this Keurig person. I make my Keurig and I go out the house and I drink my coffee and I'm like, it's just not that great. And then I'd always want to be in stopping at Starbucks or Pete's or somewhere anyway to get coffee because when I made it home in my Keurig wasn't all that great. So I started like playing with different brew methods. And there are different brew methods that don't take a whole lot longer than using the Keurig. The Keurig is nice because you can make yourself a cup. If you're the only coffee drinker in your house, you don't want a whole pot, right? Because what are you going to do with all that leftover coffee? I'm the big coffee drinker in my house. My husband and my 2 daughters, they all 3 drink coffee, but only iced coffee. They won't drink hot coffee. And even in the winter when it's, super cold outside, it's still iced coffee, which is fine. But, I like warm coffee when it's cold outside. So making a pot of coffee hot is not going to do any good for them with their iced coffee either. So there's lots of different ways to brew at home. We're going to talk about the pour over today, and that's the one we're going to do together. And that's the one that I'm going to demonstrate. But you can also use an AeroPress. Anybody ever used an AeroPress? Oh, good. Okay. Do you all own AeroPresses? Those of you that raise your hand? Awesome. How many of you like it? It's probably my standard go-to, like my daily coffee making one. I feel like it's the best replacement for a Keurig, and it's a whole lot cheaper than a Keurig. They're about $35. They're just about as no mess, no fuss, but they make a way better cup of coffee. And there's 2 different brewing methods you can use with that. Those of you who have one, how many of you do the standard versus the inverse? Raise your hand if you do standard. Some of you look at me like you have no idea what I'm talking about. Okay, so those of you who don't.
That's why you're here, Kelly.
Yep, that's why I'm here. So this is an AeroPress for those of you who don't know, and you put it on your cup. So a disc filter goes in. I'm not going to do one of these today, but I'll just do a quick. See if you can see. Just put a disc filter. This is a natural one, not a white one. But you put that in there. You wet it first. Those of you who use it, you should wet it first so you don't get the paper taste. And then you screw it on the bottom here. Then you take your scoop that comes with it, perfectly measured, right? And you put your grams in it. And then you put this on top of your mug. And then you put your water in, fill it all the way up. And then you put your plunger in. And then you plunge it down. Okay, so it's kind of like a pour over / French press all in one. It's kind of the way I like to describe it because it's got the holes in the bottom. You can see that. And so it starts dripping automatically right away, right? But the other way to do it is to do it inverse so that you are steeping it first upside down like a French press. And you can leave it this way for several minutes. And you put the mug on top. And then if you're really good and not clumsy and you trust yourself, you take the mug on the top with all this water in here, and then you flip it over and then you plunge it. But I don't do it that way because I know I will drop this and have a big mess all over my kitchen. But if you wanted it to be more full body flavored, more like a French press flavor, then that's the way you would do it. So that's a fun way to do it. And it's a single cup coffee brewer, just like the Keurig would be. Pour over also for single cups. You could get a bigger, like a Chemex. Kevin, do you have your Chemex in front of you by chance? You do. Oh, but we can't there. Except you got your green screen on, so we can't see as well. Can you put it right in front of you? And yeah. And then lift it up a little bit. So you can see that it's a little bit bigger. So you can put more coffee in that. That looks like a smaller one that Kevin has, but they do have bigger ones. So you can make like a full pot of coffee in the bigger Chemex ones. You put more coffee in, put more water in, obviously. The Chemex that I have today is their little new, it's a new one. It's the, I forget what they call it, but it's just a new little Chemex, and it's just really the top half. And then you put it on top of the mug instead of having it go right down into the bottom part. And that's the one that I'm going to be using for my pour over today. Other pour over systems, as long as it's some sort of a funnel on the top that sits on top of your mug that you can put a filter in, it will work fine. They all do the same process. So it doesn't have to be a Chemex, but Chemex is the big name in coffee, right? So I'll be brewing one in that so that you can see that also. But the first one I'm going to do obviously is going to be in the little the ones that I sent so that you guys can all do that with me. Carrie, can you put up my first slide? Can you find it? Okay. So I've got a couple of tips that I want to go over. So when she gets the slide up, these are the tips that we're going to talk about. Hopefully. Just want to make sure I don't forget any of them. So the first thing that I want to share with you is the coffee quality, right? Like I said, if you, oh, no, go back one. No. It's no, not that one. Here, hold on. Maybe I'll find it. Nope. Hold on. let me see if I can find it. Oh, I can't screen share because you're doing it. So it's the one that says brewing tips. No, it's a slide. It's a Google slide. Google Slides, all the way down at the bottom. Nope.
We'll get there. Like all of our programs, is the case with all of our programs, formal but informal, informal but formal. We're all cool.
Okay, while she looks for that, no, right on the top, tasting notes and tips. Yep, that's one. Thank you. And then hit present. And so it's underneath underneath the, I can't see it now because my face is in front of it.
There we go.
It's on the top right. Just says present. There's a button on the top right. There we go. Yay. Okay. So brewing tips. So the first thing is coffee quality, right? If you buy garbage quality coffee, you can't fix it. It's bad coffee. So the best thing to do to start is to buy good quality coffee. If you drink coffee out of a can, don't expect something really great. Okay, who knows how long the can has been sitting on the grocery store shelf. The best thing to do is to find high quality coffee. You can find a lot of times that we will talk about the farmer or where it comes from, the origin. When you get into specialty grade coffee, you'll find more of that information on the packaging. If you have commodity grade coffee, like Folgers or Maxwell House, that's what it is. And those coffees, although they're great for what they are, they just gather coffee from all over the place, batch it together, grind it down, put it in the can. So they're not necessarily from the same origin. They'll take coffees from various different farms, put them together just to put a batch out, and that's what it is. So if you're looking for a specific, you can get coffee by region. All of our coffee comes from Brazil at Williams Farm. And Brazil is the biggest coffee growing region in the world. But they have a distinct flavor palette in Brazil versus Papua New Guinea or Colombia or Panama. Different regions have different, you can expect different flavors coming out of those regions. So quality is good. Also, the freshness of your coffee. Coffee doesn't go bad per se, but it does change taste. So the newer, the fresher the roast, the better. Now, green coffee coming out of coming off the farm before it goes to the roaster, that they can keep that for quite some time before it's roasted. It's not until it's roasted that it kind of gets this time clock on it, and it's not time clock where it goes rancid or anything like that. It just, the taste alters slightly. So the sooner you drink it after it's been roasted, the better the taste is going to be. So a tip is to look for coffee that has roast dates on the packaging. Not all coffee companies do that. We do that. The best time to drink your coffee is within about a month to 2 months after the roast date. After that, the taste starts to change. Again, it doesn't go bad. It just changes the taste. It's not that fresh coffee taste. Okay, next thing is the storage. This is a storage container that I kind of like. No, don't change the page. Don't change this page. Just stay there. Go back. This, can you put my camera up? Can you put me up? I like this one because it has this one-way valve. I don't know if you can hear that. But can you hear that? No, it's stuck. Okay. So in order to close it, I have to push that in so the air escapes.
So it
Because
evacuates the air.
right. What happens when you roast a coffee bean is that as soon as you're done roasting it, CO2 gas starts to escape. Carrie, go back to the very first slide. Just stay on the first slide. Okay, first slide. You're giving away secrets. First slide. So CO2 gas starts to escape, and CO2 actually carries a lot of the flavor in the coffees. So the more CO2 that leaves those beans, the less flavorful that coffee is. So, and it starts off gassing right away. So that's why you'll find bags with the valves on the back, right? Because they off gas, but you want one-way valves. I'll put that up close so you can see. You want the one-way valves because you don't want new air coming in. You just want the CO2 to be able to escape. Also, do not store your coffee in the freezer. Refrigerator, some people say it's okay. I wouldn't recommend that either. Because if you don't have it in an airtight container, moisture will get in there and that will degrade your coffee way, way faster. So you think you're preserving it, but you're actually making it degrade much faster than if you leave it in a dark, airtight container, airtight with only a one-way valve out, no air coming in. So any airtight container, but if it has a one-way valve so that it can off gas that is perfect. And then of course there's the proper grind. Carrie, can you go back to the full screen so I can see everybody? No, I want to see everybody. So if you have, perfect. How many of you buy whole bean coffee? Okay, good. So that means you all have grinders. All right, so here's the big question. How many of you have a burr grinder versus, well, let's do this. How many of you have let's do this. How many of you know what a burr grinder is?
Because we talked last night.
How many of you know what a blade grinder is? Okay, so most of you probably have a blade grinder. They're more common for the average coffee drinker at home because they're inexpensive. You can pick one up for 10, 20 bucks. But they're terrible. If you have one, throw it out and get a burr grinder. And I'm not pitching any particular burr grinder company. I don't own stock in any of them or anything like that, but there's a huge difference in flavor of your final cup based on the grind. When you use a blade grinder, it's a very inconsistent shape. Now, Carrie, if you can go back to that second slide. I'm making her work today. She's gonna love me. So when you have a blade grinder, it's a wide open cavity and you just have those two blades in there and the coffee is just flying around in there like popcorn. So you get a very inconsistent shape when you cut up those pieces of bean. So you have some big chunks, you have some little tiny chunks, and it's very inconsistent. And if you're just putting it in a coffee pot, okay. But if you're trying to do any other kind of brewing method, it's not going to work very well because there are various, yeah, slide number 2. Perfect. Yep. Okay, and then present. Awesome. Okay, and then everybody, if your pictures of the camera is on the right-hand side like mine is, you might want to move that out of the way so you can see the grinds. Over here on the right-hand side, can you guys see my mouse moving or no?
No.
Okay. On the top right picture, there is a picture of a pile of grinds next to the blade grinder. You can see, if you look at that, there's very different size grinds in there. There's some big chunks, there's some little chunks, there's some medium chunks. If you look at the pile below it from the burr grinder, which is 2 gear type pieces that rub together, one on top of each other, and the coffee bean goes in between them so that it's a very consistent size. You can see that all of those pieces are pretty much the same size. And the nice thing about the burr grinder is that you can adjust the burrs closer or further apart so that you can change the size of those grinds. which is very important when you're changing what brew method you're using, because you cannot use the same size grind in your espresso machine as you would in your French press, which is also a different size that you would use in the pour over like we're doing today versus your coffee machine, etc. And so we'll talk about that in just a second too. But if you take a look at the pictures on the right, I'm sorry, on the left, I'll move my pictures back out of the way. You'll see at the top, there's two different kinds of burrs. There's a conical burr, and then there's the burr, the flat burr. The more common one for consumer use is the middle one there, the two flat ones. But a more commercial grade, you'll find more of the conical burrs in big commercial grinders, which is what they're using to grind your coffee that you buy pre-ground in the grocery store. And then the bottom one is the blade grinder, which is probably what most of you have at home. Okay, Carrie, can you switch to the next slide, please? Okay, so like I was saying, there's different size, there we go. There's different size grinds. So if you take a look from left to right, you've got extra fine, which is best for your espresso or Turkish. If you have ever made Turkish, you actually brew the grinds right in the coffee and you don't strain it out, so you really want them fine because it's not instant, so it doesn't dissolve like instant coffee, right? And then you've got your fine, which is best for a mocha pot, or the V60 is a type of it's a Horo. It's a type of a pour over type. And then there's the AeroPress, and you'll notice AeroPress is on there twice because some people like to use it more as an espresso replacement, and some people like to use it more as a drip or a pour over replacement. So you see it's listed there twice. And then you see the medium, which is in the middle, which is best for drip. Your machine, your coffee machine, that's a standard. So when you buy pre-ground stuff at the store, you're generally getting a medium grind. That's the standard. And then you've got medium coarse, which is going to be best for your pour overs like the Chemex, which we're going to be looking at today is my Chemex. And then of course on your far right, you've got coarse grinds, which is going to be best for French press and cold brew. And that's really because when you do French press, if anybody is familiar with that, you're steeping the coffee right in the water, and then you're just pressing a mesh screen over the top of it and pouring the coffee into your mug. And that's really just, that's the only filter is the screen mesh. And it's if you have really fine grinds, like if you used something from the left of the screen, then you're going to end up with a whole lot of floating particles in your coffee, especially down at the bottom in the last few sips, and nobody wants that, right? So the coarser your grind, the less is going to be coming through your screen. Now it also does change the way that the water reacts and the way the brewing works and steeping and all of that as well. Obviously, when they pull an espresso shot, that's only a few seconds, right? Less than 30 seconds that the water and the coffee are touching each other before it's going into your mug. Whereas when you're doing a French press, you're letting it sit there for a good 4 minutes. So the extraction time is much different. So the time that your water is in contact with your coffee, that is all in combination with the size of your grind, because it's, surface area. How much time do you need to have water touching the surface of the coffee in order to pull that coffee flavor out into the water that you're going to be drinking? So it's all relative. It's all kind of a science. So if you only have a blade grinder, you clearly cannot make any of these adjustments with your grind. So the blade grinder is pretty much good for your coffee machine, and that's it. And it's not a consistent amount of, again, water to the surface area, because the surface area on all of your grinds in a blade grinder ground group of coffee beans is all different. So the amount of water touching this coffee grind compared to that coffee grind in the same batch extracts different amounts because of the size is different. Does that make sense? Okay.
And Kelly, which of the two burr grinders is superior?
It's not that they're superior. It's just one is used more for commercial application and one is used more at home. The conical one you'll see more in a commercial, a big industrial machine. And then the flat one you'll see more in a home type grinder.
Okay, so presumably, are there home editions of the conical?
There might be. Actually, mine, I have to look. Mine might be conical. I have to look at it. And then like this one is a burr grinder, but it's manual, right? And I don't think you can see it well enough. If I
Thank you, Carrie. Carrie's pulling up burr grinders from the web for us.
Awesome. Carrie, can you go back to the shot of everybody? I'm going to start my water. Hopefully that's not going to be so bad. Okay. Oh, not the tasting notes. Stop giving them the tasting notes. You're giving them all of the
Formal but informal.
answers to the quiz. Okay.
All right.
If they got the
Thank
tasting
you.
kit, they kind of already have that, but
Carrie, thank you so much.
yes. Okay. The other part, obviously, is water temperature. Now, how many of you are tea drinkers?
Tea drinkers?
Tea drinkers. 2 of you, 3 of you? Okay. I'm not a tea drinker. I mean, if I got the flu, I'll drink tea. But when you make tea, you want the water boiling, right? When you make coffee, you don't. You don't want it to the boiling point. Water boiling is at about 212 degrees Fahrenheit. You don't want your water that hot when you're making coffee. If it's that hot when you're making coffee, you're going to make your coffee bitter. So the perfect range for your water temperature is somewhere between 198 degrees and 203 degrees. Some arguments. Some people say between 200 and 205, but basically if you're right around 200 to 203, that's like the magic number. So if you have a good coffee pot, coffee maker, you can adjust the temperature and set it. If you have a Mr. Coffee, some $10 or $20 thing from Walmart, then you can't. When you're doing a pour over, the best thing I suggest is a kettle, and a kettle with a thermometer. So I have just just an analog dial, right? But they make them with digital thermometers on them. There's a lot of the tea kettle type that sit on their own little heater, and when they're done, the light changes and it pops off. But you can't adjust the temperature on a lot of those, and they're made for what? They're made for tea. So they bring the water all the way to boiling. So if you have one that only goes to boiling and you can't set it at your own temperature, then once you've boiled your water, you want to leave it for a few minutes so it cools down a few degrees before you actually put it in your coffee. Otherwise, you are going to scorch your grinds and you're going to get a little bitter taste to your coffee.
Kelly, does boiling at first have an effect on the oxygen level? And does that have an effect? If you boil it first and then let it cool a bit, is that inferior to getting it just below boiling in the first place?
I don't think so. I mean,
Okay.
I haven't controlled anything about the oxygen level in the water. It's just really, it's the temperature that's really the issue for that. And then of course, it's not just the water temperature, but it's also the water quality. If you are just using tap water and you figure, oh, it doesn't matter, I've got a coffee filter. Well, that's true, but the coffee is above the filter. So the water may be filtered before you drink it, but it's not before it touches the coffee, right? So the best thing you want to do is you want to use the best quality water you can, as filtered as possible, so that you don't have any funky tastes in there, especially if you're drinking tap water and your city water has a lot of chlorine or whatever in it. You don't want that in your coffee. Okay, so I'm going to turn that off. I'm pretty close to my perfect temperature. Okay, so that's it on water. And then the other part is your coffee to water ratio. You don't just want to dump stuff in there and start pouring. They have coffee scoops, right? And for example, the AeroPress comes with one, and they say specifically use this amount of coffee grounds in your thing. So for that, go for it. But for a pour over, a good rule of thumb is 30 grams of coffee to every 12 ounces of water, or 1 ounce of coffee grounds to every 12 ounces of water that you're going to use is a good thing. And if you don't have a kitchen scale, Carrie, can you bring my, it's my camera. Can you bring my, yeah, it's up. Okay. So I'm going to turn this on. And I pre-measured one already to start. just so that we can see. Oh, and if,
I
if you
just, I just, I just brought out our kitchen scale. These things are super inexpensive
yes,
and they are indispensable.
yes. I think I got this one at Walmart or grocery store or something for maybe $10. I
Exactly.
just bought a slightly bigger one with a few more bells and whistles on it at Costco for 20. So, you know, just a simple one that does, you know, all the, like this one does milliliters, grams, pounds, ounces, you know, so that you can switch it up. But if you have your pour over little guys, I'm going to show you just simply, no, Carrie, can you pull my camera up? The first to be the camera. You just-
Also, I just put in the chat a link to the kettle we use, which is really great. You know, settable on a 1 degree scale, basically. It's a little price, it's like $70, but it's good, and I've had it for like 3 years. It's very reliable
Nice.
and solid.
And it's digital?
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, it's got a base, and you can set it in 1 degree increments essentially.
Yeah, the only reason I got this one instead is because I already had the hot plate, so I didn't need a base, which is why I got the one with this on it. But if I, you know,
Gosh, yours is all in one, presumably?
Is what?
It's all in one?
Yeah, I mean, there's a base that it sits on, and then the kettle, it's a plastic base that's where all the controls are, and then you just lift the kettle off of it to pour. I
Okay.
think yeah, it's a great design. And
Can you make-
it's been very reliable and for several years now.
awesome. Well,
Thank you.
you can all see my camera even if it's not big, right?
Well, I mean, I think this is something everyone has to click on themselves. If you
Yes,
guys can move to
folks,
Kelly's
Let me
cell
direct
phone.
everyone to the screen labeled Kelly Abbott.
Kelly's iPhone, yeah.
Everyone find the screen labeled Kelly Abbott and double click on that and it'll pin it. And then you can see an overhead shot of Kelly's handiwork.
Okay, give everybody a second to find that. If you have trouble with it,
Yes, find a participant named Kelly Abbott, double click on that to pin it, and you will be able to see what she's doing with her hands.
okay, so you just lift this up first, this end, and then this end comes up. And then same thing on the other side, and then it just kind of opens like that. And then you set this inside the top of your mug. So I've already done that with this guy, and I have already put 30 grams of coffee in there. So one way that you can do it is get your mug already set up with your filter, or if you're doing, let me grab a different mug. Or if you're using, an actual pour over system, get this all set up like this and hit the tare button on your scale so that it zeroes it out. And then when you put your coffee in, you can measure exactly your 30 grams. Okay, and then you want to tare it out again. So then when you pour your water in, you can see, and then switch this over to ounces, and then you can measure out your 12 ounces. So if you're going to do it with your scale, that's how you're going to do it. But for this purpose, I already measured this out at the 30 grams. But for those of you who don't have a scale, if you want to do it by volume, it was roughly 6 tablespoons. Okay, it's also
Which
1
coffee
ounce.
are we making first?
Which coffee?
Sorry, that's true. We're going to start with the light roast, which is the Perrier So. And this is one of our specialty coffees that, so Williams Farm, they've been farming there since 1875. Well, they've been farming there since 1840, but they've been doing coffee there since 1875. And a couple of their main crops that they have all the time, that they've been doing commodity coffee for years and years, but they started switching over to specialty grade starting about 2012. And he started doing what he's calling his experimental plantations, so that he's bringing in new varieties and seeing how they go in Brazil and in their area, and seeing how well they do for our customers. And as those experiments play out, they may be planting more plantations in those. So this is one of those varietals, and it's called Paraiso, and it's been roasted as a light roast. I won't be getting any more. So this is from the 2020 harvest, and the 2021 harvest is actually just pulling into port. Actually, when he texted me this morning, he said that the coffee for the 2021 harvest had just pulled into port here in Oakland. I've been waiting. It's been on the water since he headed home at Christmas time, and he got it all set for us. So apparently it's just pulled into port in Oakland. But he has used the Paraiso in a blend that he's put together for us this year, but he didn't send me any by itself. So if you have some Paraiso and you like it, savor it, because this is it. I have a little bit more this year left that I can roast, but I don't have a lot of it, and this is it. And so if you ordered the larger kit, then it'll come and it'll be in the bag that says Roaster's Choice. And so what I've done with the Roaster's Choice is other micro lots like this one that I won't have a lot of, but I really wanted to, share with my customers as I chose to roast these. And so the Roaster's Choice is going to be one of those where when I have fun stuff coming out from the farm that I can roast up. They're not things that we necessarily have all the time.
That's very fitting. That's very fitting, Kelly, in that Paradise is a rare commodity.
Yes. Yeah. So if you guys are all set with yours, once you got that in there. So again, if you're doing it by volume, about 6 tablespoons. And if you're doing it by weight, it's 30 grams or about an ounce. And then on the water, you want your water boiled to about 200 degrees, give or take 2 or 3 degrees. And now my water got too cold, so I'm gonna heat that back up a little bit. And then what we're gonna do first is what's called the bloom. Does anybody, how do I unpin this? Oh, there we go, unpin. Okay, so how do I get everybody back? I want to see everybody. I only see Philip. I don't see everybody. Hi, Philip. Carrie, how come I don't see everybody? I can't hear you. I want to see all the people.
Yeah, go to gallery view at the top, in the top right corner.
Oh, because I'm covering it up with my little, oh, there it is. There's the button. Okay. Hi, now I can see you all. Okay, so you guys have your water boiled? Everybody ready? You got your thing? It's all set? Okay, now, show of hands. How many people know what a bloom is? Josh knows. Bill thinks he knows. Bill knows he knows. Okay, what we're gonna do what's called the bloom. Now what a bloom does is it gets the coffee beans just wet enough so that they're all saturated, but we're not soaking them. And they're not sitting in the water, but it just does enough to release a little bit of extra CO2. So when you do fresh grounds, right, that's the other thing. When you buy whole beans, you keep them whole until right before you use them. Then you grind them. Okay, so those of you who got the small sample kit, I've pre-ground them for you. They're ready to go. This was from the pre-ground kit, and I've got one more that's pre-ground, and then I'm going to grind one set today so that you can see those fresh. And you'll see a little bit of a difference, hopefully. When I do the bloom on this, you may or may not see any bubbles, air bubbles. But when I do the fresh one, you should see a little bit more bubble and some air movement coming out. And you want to bloom it for a good 30 seconds so it lets some of that off-gassing out. And then you're going to do your saturation. And when you do a kettle, and I haven't looked at your link yet, Josh, but I'm going to assume that you have a gooseneck kettle. And the gooseneck is key, because when you pour, you want to have that extra space here. Because if you have just the kettle with the spout on the top, it makes it really hard to do this. Okay, so, and if you don't have any pins, then you want to go back there, but you're just going to go in a circular motion and make sure that you've got everything wet. And then normally you would pre-wet your filter, but again, since I had this pre-measured out for the sake of live internet TV or whatever we're calling this, this new technology, I didn't. But you'll notice, can you guys see that? There's some bubbles there. And it's just enough to let the water kind of saturate. And we'll just give it 30 seconds. and the water's going to go through slow. And let me see. Can you see that one? Put that back on the pin. A little bit closer. Can't zoom with my iPhone the way I can with the real camera. Okay. So then once we've let it bloom, then we're just going to pour over ever so slowly. But obviously you're not going to be able to put 12 ounces in this little tiny bag all at once. So you're just going to do it in a circular motion and fill it as much as you can until it drains through. And then once it drains through, you'll do the next set. So obviously this way, unlike the Keurig, you have to babysit it, right? The AeroPress, you pour it all in, you do the thing all at once, and you're done. You don't have to sit and watch it. French press, you get it started. You set your timer for 4 minutes, you walk away. You can go, put your makeup on or get your stuff loaded in the car for the morning or whatever and come back. But this one, you do have to watch it. So this is, a little bit more of your attention than some of the other brew methods. And in the Google Drive, Carrie, there's a sheet that looks like this. Is there a way we can put that, I don't know, in the chat or something, so that they can download a copy? I don't know if there's a way to do that.
I can send, we can send it to everyone after the,
Okay.
via email after the meeting.
Okay, great. So this is just a quick little how-to. It's a step-by-step guide to basically what I'm going over today. And it's kind of a nice little cheat sheet. But on this, it does say that you can use like a wooden spoon.
Kelly, what is it called? Because yes, I can put it in the chat.
It's how to make coffee, manual dripper. And it says to use a wooden spoon or something, but I have this little tool that comes with the AeroPress. And it just kind of helps move the water through the grounds a little bit if it gets a little tight. And just this filter is so small that it may. We need extra help. So while we're dripping, does anybody have any questions so far? Unpin that so I can see everybody.
Hey Kelly, I got a question.
Sure.
So yeah, on the Chemex, can I go ahead and fill the Chemex filter almost all the way up to the top when I'm pouring over? Or should I just do it halfway? Or is
No,
there a
you can,
certain
yeah.
amount?
You can put as much water in there as you, yeah. And then it would, takes a little,
Takes a while. Yeah.
the more water you can put in it at a time. This thing is just so little, but I didn't know how many people had. And if you have your own pour over, you don't have to use this. I just needed to demonstrate for those of you who didn't have one. And again,
Going backwards on an earlier thing, but I
Sure.
think we have a little time. On the freezing question, I mean, what about freezing in an airtight container?
there's not really a benefit to it. It doesn't prolong the life at all. And really dark and airtight, that's what's going to keep it. Because the other part is when you take it out and it's frozen and you go to grind that, the grinding and breaking up of the bean when it's frozen, damage.
Yeah, it's more for me a question of if I'm buying, in bulk, if I'm buying like I'll take a 5-pound bag and then put it in vacuum sealed, freezer, food saver vacuum seal. I'll vacuum seal it in sort of 1 pound packages and then freeze those.
In a dark place. If it's sealed, you could just do that and then put it in a dark place.
Yeah.
Get it air sealed. Because when you freeze it, you know, because when you, yeah, it's just, because I used to freeze my beans too, but that's like one of the first things I learned was, no, don't ever do that. And then too, because when you go to grind it, the cellular structure is damaged more when it's frozen. And that affects things too. And you can experiment. You can take some that are frozen and see, I can't see you now. Wait, hold on, let me find my gallery. 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 I want the whole gallery. Yeah, there you are. You can experiment and take some that isn't frozen and some that is frozen and grind them both and then brew them both at the same time and see if you taste the difference. But the freezing, and then if there's something, you know, some little tiny hole in that package somewhere and any moisture gets in there, if you see any ice crystals or anything on your coffee, it's going to be a problem for sure. But there's no benefit to it. As far as airtight and dark is all you need to keep it fresh. The freezing doesn't help it in any way. And there's more potential for damage than there is for preservation, if that helps. Okay, I keep reaching down to get my mouse and ending up on my hot plate. Okay. I think these grinds might be a little too small for this. Oh, okay, don't do that. Grinds might be a little bit too small for this filter. Or too thick, rather. Don't drop your filter in your cup. That is a no-no. Okay. So everybody else is going this slow? It's just me.
Not just you, ours is going the same.
And
That's
actually, a
okay.
question, because for unfortunately, my tasting kit didn't have the filters, but they look interesting. What's the brand of those? Where can we find those?
Did I? I thought I said, Bill, did I send extra filters to you, but yours came with, I thought I missed them on somebody's, but I might have mailed them to the wrong person. I'm so sorry.
I didn't receive anything.
I'm waiting for the filters. I got the box of stuff, but I'm waiting for the filters.
Yeah, I got the box of coffee, but the filters were not.
I'm so sorry. I will have to look. I bought them on Amazon, but I can share that link.
Great.
Do you like coffee socks or is a paper filter better?
Coffee socks.
Yeah, it's a cloth cone.
Oh, yeah, those are fine. You just have to make sure that you wash them out really good.
Okay.
Otherwise, if you don't, then they don't filter as well eventually. But I mean, that's more environmentally friendly. So yeah,
That's why I liked it, but I wasn't sure if it affected flavor at all with the paper.
it might. I mean, when you wash it, you want to make sure you get all the soap out because you don't want soap flavor in your coffee.
I never soaped them. I just boiled them in water to try to kill any bacteria or whatever.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to switch over to my Chemex so that I can show you that because this has taken too long. This little filter.
Hey, Kelly,
Yes.
I noticed something like I bought, I tried that Death Wish brand out, right? And I used it in my Chemex. And in doing so, when I was doing the bloom part, the first part, there was no bubbles at all. Is that because it's not fresh? Do we see bubbles when it's fresh coffee versus something that's been on the shelf like that type of coffee? Like
The older
commercial?
it is, the less bubbles you'll see. When it's first roasted, you'll see like really big bubbles, and you'll almost see
Yeah.
like a rainbow swirl on them, and you can kind of see them moving.
Yeah,
Right.
that's exactly what I seen right now with this one.
Mhm.
But like I said, when I did the Death Wish coffee, it was just flat. It was like, it just kind of reminded me like, is this a thing? Is this a dud? Is it alive? But yeah,
Well, the other
I
thing
just
is,
noticed that.
Death Wish coffee probably also has Robusta beans in it, not just Arabica.
Yes, it does.
I don't know how much different that reacts because I'm not as well versed in Robusta. I just know it's got more caffeine in it, but it's also not nearly as tasty, and that's why nobody uses it. Robusta is generally used for originally instant coffee, right? Because instant coffees, what they do, it's a process. They make the coffee and then they freeze dry it in crystals, and then you re-add the water, and now you can drink the coffee. So that's why instant coffee never tastes like regular coffee, because it's made with Robusta beans usually. They are now starting to experiment more with Arabica beans, and like Starbucks has an instant coffee now, and a lot of some of the specialty coffee roasters are dabbling into that market, and they're hopefully going to be tasting better than the instant coffee of yesteryear. But instant is still instant, in my opinion, at this point. So we'll see.
Is it used for a lot of the espressos? I mean, does Starbucks just use Arabica beans, or they use both when they're doing their espressos? Do you know?
No, just Arabica.
Oh, just
Yeah.
Arabica. Okay.
Yeah, as far as I know.
Because I was thinking like the caffeine content in the Robusta beans are a lot higher, and then espressos, aren't you trying to get that high caffeine content by roasting it
Well,
long?
So in the espresso, you have a smaller amount of grinds. For example, here's my, let's see this. My thing freeze. Okay. So you can see this has got much finer grinds. Can you see that? I ground this really fine for my espresso. Oops, wrong way. There, for my espresso machine. But this is all I'm putting in there, right? It's just this, it's really not a whole lot compared to the amount that I'm putting in the coffee. But the amount of time that the water is passing through here, and it's at a really high pressure. So it's less than 30 seconds of contact and at a super high pressure versus several minutes potentially at no pressure, right? It's just gravity fed with what we're doing here. So what the extraction rate pulls the caffeine out a little bit different. So yes, espresso, the amount of espresso that's being used. So some people, oh, it's really strong, really strong. But if you look at the amount of espresso that is actually in your venti or whatever, is this much coffee and the rest of it is milk, right? Versus what's in your coffee cup. So cup per cup, it's not a whole lot different when you're all said and done. But the amount of caffeine that you're getting out from the extraction rates is different. But you're getting a little tiny amount of espresso versus a lot of coffee, and then you're adding different milk products and stuff to it to get the same volume of beverage. So that's where your caffeine is going to be. And you can go and look. I mean, there is a chart somewhere I might have that I can try and pull up at the end and see, but because I was curious about that at one point too, and it's actually not a whole lot different, but it's not. If you were to have the same amount of espresso only, like straight espresso, 12 ounces of espresso shots, like if you pulled enough shots to fill 12 ounces, it would absolutely be way more caffeine. But your 12-ounce espresso drink from Starbucks or any of those places is not straight espresso. Like espresso itself is really only a shot. And it's what you put in it. It's an espresso drink or an espresso beverage. They're all milk-based with other stuff. If you go and you ask for just an espresso, all you're getting It's not going to be this. It'd be. It would be this. That's what you get. And if you want an actual cappuccino, like traditional, it's this with 4 ounces of milk. That's what you get. But here in America, we have, we're the land of way too many calories, right? So we have to add all the sugar and fat and make our drinks 16 feet tall. And that's, if you go to Europe where they started all of this, you can't get a drink that big. They don't make that. You order an espresso, this is what you get. You order a cappuccino, this is what you get. You don't get a venti, anything. They don't make them. All right, let's boil this next bit of water. Those of you,
Kelly, I'm gonna just butt in here for a moment. We are at 1 hour, and we need to get William into the mix. What I want to know is, shall we try running the video right now?
sure.
Okay, can you set that up for us?
Me or Carrie? Oh, you want me to toss it? Got it.
Yes,
Okay.
toss it.
William has been at the farm since Christmas Eve, and he got all the coffees ready to go. They harvest a couple times a year. And so because he wasn't really sure if he was going to be able to meet with us today, he was really hoping he would, but it's electrical storm. He contacted me this morning. Their power's been in and out, so he didn't think he was going to be able to join with internet issues, but he did send us a brief talk, and then he's at the farm, and basically he just kind of talks to us about what they're farming, what they do, and well, yeah.
Well, folks, we did a test run on this morning. It's a very large file. It's not flowing properly, but you should be able to put together the frames, and you should be able to hear the audio. So cross your fingers, everyone.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be with you here. I'm at one of our plantations here at our farm in Brazil, and a very pretty plantation, actually. And if you see me leaning left or right, it's just to try to get rid of the spider webs. It shows that we care about the plantation, that we don't spray it. We're trying organic fertilization this plantation, which is very exciting. And very proud, of course, to share why Unleashed Coffee is different than other coffees and why it's so important to buy from the farmer. And we could talk about our zero water waste processing, the history here being at the farm since 1840, growing coffee since 1875. But today, I would like to bring your attention to what we do day to day. And these steps, they go unnoticed if you buy coffee from a larger seller, wholesaler, cooperatives. So I would really like to emphasize this aspect of buying directly from Unleashed Coffee, buying directly from a farmer. The care with this plantation started actually 2 years ago, a little over 2 years, when we decided to prune it and wait 2 years for the first yield. Then, of course, you take care of the plantation very nicely with all the fertilization and the care that it's needed. And today, I mean, you can see right on the video, very healthy trees, beautiful plantation, beautiful leaves. And so this coffee you're gonna try only in 2022. So the care started back in late 2019 with the pruning and then the proper care throughout the years. And it's going to be this first yield since pruning, and then all the drying and processing and preparing this coffee to send to you. It's just unbelievable to work alongside here, my family and all our collaborators who really take pride in what we're doing. So it's not just selling coffee, right? It's not just sending it to the United States. It's really to share with you this care, this passion, what we do here at the farm. So when you're buying from us, you're not just buying coffee directly from the farmer to support the farmer. You're actually supporting all these processes, all this good care, right? When we talk about land conservation, natural resources preservation, sustainability. This is what we practice at their best, right? And I'm gonna go all the way to the end of this row of coffee trees here, and you're gonna see that right on the other side we have a natural forest with water springs in it, protected by us. So we really take care of the land, of the resources, and we're looking for a sustainable way to produce coffee as best as we can without disrupting nature here at the farm. We can see the results. The farm gets better every year, and we're very proud of it. We're very proud to serve coffee to you. It's just a pleasure. As you can imagine, it's a lot of hard work put into the coffee, and just sometimes you sell the coffee in the commodities market, and it's just commodity, right? It's just coffee, right? And not the coffee that we send to you, not the coffee that we sell to you and share with you, right? This is different. This is exactly what we're trying to do. Bridge this gap between us and what we do best, and you, the folks who can really take care of us, right? Of supporting us. And take a look here at the vegetation. Even on the ground, you don't see the dirt, right, exposed. So that saves water in the soil, preserves, right, the soil further. And I'm gonna just turn myself to the other side here. We have this forest here, which starts here and goes all the way down to a pond that we have. And you're gonna see some other coffee plantations in the back end, in the back there. My father's all the way next to our little truck there. So it is a pleasure, right, to be producing this coffee and all the other coffees for you, to share them with you. So I'm very excited to have another year here. We just finished preparing the 2021 coffee lots. They are actually on the way to the port as I speak with you, and I can't wait to share them with you. I cupped them all. It's delicious, beautiful characteristics, and I'm very excited. It's going to be a great year. I know 2020 was a difficult year to many of us, but 2021 should be fantastic. At least we're trying our best to make sure you drink the best coffees yet produced here at our farm and sold to you directly in the United States. Take care, everybody. Hope you have a great rest of your day. This is a Sunday morning. I'm here with my family. It's a big pleasure. And we're going to go to all the other plantations, so you can expect some other videos from me. And until then, so long. Bye.
So guys, part of our technical difficulty is, for some reason, when I was sharing the edited version of that lovely video, the sound was not coming out. So Philip tried it, but then we remembered he didn't have the final copy. So I put the final copy in the chat. If you guys want to see it, it actually shows the plantation with drone footage, and you can see the different processes that he's talking about. If you guys want to download that and check it out.
I would suggest that you download it now, because once the meeting ends, you will not have access to it. So it's there in the chat box right now. Download it so that you can watch it after we're done. Okay, so
And real quick, we want to thank Margaret for putting the edited version together for us.
Margaret, please wave. Margaret Howell. That's Margaret Howell, editor, who also, as it happens, sidebar here, works with us on a couple of our media projects, Cocktails the Grand Tour with Jonathan Pogash, and also Complete Greek with Chef Christina Xenos, which has not yet debuted, but will soon. Anyway, so Margaret, thank you. All right, Kelly, you want to unmute and pick it up?
Yes. Okay. Do we have time? Do people want to stick around for a couple more minutes? I'm going to do this one with the Chemex. What I did do is I put some roasting notes. If you have a tasting kit, I included the roasting notes in your kit, but the screens that Carrie kept popping up before, which I didn't want up yet, because I didn't want you to look at them before you tasted, because I wanted to see if you could taste any of those notes without peeking. But if you haven't had the opportunity to do that, you're welcome to that. Anyway, if you take a look at the camera now, I've got the Chemex up. This is going to go faster because I have the thing, but again, you want to pre-wet your filter just to get rid of that paper taste a little bit. And dump the extra water out, and then of course you're going to tear that and put your measured things. You'll notice that's just about 30 grams. Can you see the, probably backwards, upside down, 29, 30. And then we'll bloom it, right? So a quick little round. And you can see all the bubbles. You see the bubbles? And that'll show you that that's a nice fresh roast. So I just roasted all the coffees that were sent for the tasting kit were roasted 2 days before I mailed them out. So they're about 9 days from being roasted, about 9 days ago. And the optimum time to taste your coffee is 4 days after the roast, because it gets just enough time to off gas. So if you drink it right away, like right after it's roasted, it's got a little bit too much carbon dioxide. Okay. Does anybody, let's see. I can't see anybody again. Oh, there we go. Did anybody get to taste the Perrier-So and have any tasting notes? Were you able to taste any specific flavors while we're watching this bloom?
I did, Kelly. You know, I think we talked about this before about the light roast.
Uh-huh.
You know, it never really was my favorite, you know, light roast, you know, kind of like the darker. But today I've got a different experience. Do you remember I was telling you that bitter taste that I would taste from light roasted coffee? Well, actually this one. But it's not a bitter taste. It's the lemon.
It's okay. So it's a sour.
That's what. So that's what I'm tasting is the lemon taste, and I thought it was like a bitter taste, but it's not. It's the lemon, and you know. So okay, now I have a more of appreciation for it. Before, you know, it was like my thing. I'm a Starbucks guy, so I like the darker stuff, you know. And now I'm like kind of like seeing I'm getting acquired a better palate for this stuff now. You know, I'm looking at the flavor notes. I'm like, okay, that is actually what I'm tasting. It's lemon.
Good, good. Anybody else? Okay, well, check it out and see if you can pinpoint any of the flavors that are in there. The second one is a medium roast. It's called Mini Me. We call it Mini Me because they're small. If you got the large kits, you'll see that they look a little different. The beans, they're pea berry beans, and what the pea berries are, they're actually they're misfits, really. And about 5% of coffee cherries that grow, instead of growing with 2 seeds, which are the beans inside that face each other flat, kind of like a walnut, they just have one that grows, and it grows a little bit rounder, a little bit more football shaped and smaller. And because it never opens up and splits into 2, it's a little bit more caffeinated in that little tiny bean than a regular bean. So the pea berry beans, they pull all the misfits from all the different plantations, and they put them all together, and then you have the Mini Me. So those we have roasted in a medium, and that's what we're doing on this medium blend right now. And pea berry is actually one of my favorites. I found my first pea berry about 2 years ago, maybe, and it's one of my favorite coffees now. I would say pea berry.
It's ours too, Kelly.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh yeah, we've been getting it from William for a while now.
Nice.
You have to make sure that it's never missing from the house.
Yes, well, that's one of the things I said to William. I said, okay, what coffees are coming? I'm almost out of this. I'm almost out of this. I'm on my last bag of pea berry. I've got about a half of maybe 15 kilos left before I'm out. So I was so excited when he texted this morning and said, the coffee's pulling into the port. It's there. I'm like, great. Now, if you could just get home so I can get the coffee from the port, it'd be great. Pea berry is one of my favorites. Although, you know, we experimented a little bit with geisha this year, which was really good. And one of my favorite ones that he experimented with was Paul Brazil. That was a really good one too.
We tried the geisha. We didn't try the other yet.
No? Well, order some Roaster's Choice because I have some Paul Brazil and some Geisha and some of the Paraiso in the Roaster's Choice right now.
Kelly, I would like to move on to Q&A in as soon as possible. Also, what we'll do, I found the edited video in another folder. So what I'm going to do, and it's 5 minutes long. What I'm going to do is run that at the very end. You have it in the chat, so you can download it, but I'm going to run it at the very end, and we'll conclude the meeting once we'll just end the Zoom meeting once it finishes streaming.
And cross your fingers that the sound plays.
Yes.
And
But
you already heard what William has to say.
how did everything look and sound on the earlier version? It worked? Okay. All right. So we'll try. Okay. So is it a good time to move on to Q&A? Because I think we probably, okay. So everyone unmute yourselves if you'd like to participate in the Q&A. Then I'll have a couple of farewell notes. So Q&A, coffee talk.
Kelly, I see you put a link in the chat. What is that about?
Oh, yes. So I have a survey. For those of you who don't know, well, probably most of you don't know. So William founded this company about 5 years ago, almost 5 years ago, with his partner, Valerian. So William is a farmer and Valerian was the roaster. And they started Unleashed Coffee back in 2016. And this was really William's passion as a way to get specialty grade coffee from his family's farm to the United States. And I was really hoping he'd be able to be here today so he could talk to you a little bit more about how that all started. But long story short, they started this company, but they both have they're both tech people also. William came to the United States in 2004, I think it was, for a 4-month internship in the Bay Area. And that was it. He was supposed to go home after that, but he fell in love with the country and he stayed, and he's been working in the Bay Area ever since. But he travels back and forth to Brazil all the time to work with the farm. But because he stayed here, finished his college degree, got a couple masters, went to San Francisco State, got his master's. I think he got a second one, I think he told me, in France. But he liked us better, so he came back to the US. At any rate, he does a lot of the technical upgrades for the farm. Farmers typically never taste their own coffee, and they don't really realize what it is that they're sending to us, and they have to go by what it is the middlemen tell them. And
is that like an actor who won't watch him or herself on screen?
Maybe, but you
like
know,
Adam Driver?
Well, they need to sell everything they can sell, right? So they don't want to save any for themselves. But you can't learn from your crop if you don't taste it either. So William has made a pretty large investment to make sure that they can upgrade from commodity grade coffee, so it's not just going into like a Folgers can, to specialty grade coffee, so that they have about 13 lots that they send specifically off to the United States for specialty grade coffee now, that they've been working on since about 2012. And when you're growing coffee for specialty grade, you have to upgrade your processes. And because he's a tech guy, they were able to really do that. And so they started this company and they got it launched and going, but he needed to really concentrate on his tech job and really the part of the farm that he's working on. It's difficult distance-wise. He's back and forth to the farm a couple times. And with COVID, early part of COVID, he got stuck actually in Brazil for several months in early 2020. So they decided to go ahead and sell. And so I purchased the company from them and I took over January 1st. But, obviously I'm still big time partnering with William and the family for the beans, because sustainability is really, really important to me. And I was a customer of theirs before I, was the CEO, obviously. But the reason I became a customer, first of all, is because of the way they farm, and because of the culture that they had built. And that's what drew me in. And so when they announced that they were selling, I was ecstatic. And I was like, this guy, I got to be able to do this. And I got to be able to work with these guys. And so I'm super thrilled to have taken over the company from them. And I'm still working with Valerian. And he's, you know, working with me on all the roasting profiles. And I talk with him almost daily. And I talk with William as often as I can while he's in Brazil. So they're great guys, and I'm really blessed to be able to work with them in this company. So
Well, don't let it grind you down.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's just it's been a real blessing to be able to do this. But one of my favorite coffees that he's been able to bring is the Peaberry. So if you have finished brewing yours, please take a taste, and I would love to hear your tasting notes.
Okay, but that doesn't answer my question about what's the link you put in the box.
Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, right. I went on so the link is because I'm new to the company and trying to figure out how, I'm doing it by myself now instead of having a partner to share some of these responsibilities with. It's really important to me to try and be as roast to order as possible, because I really like the whole fresh thing. I want you to see bubbles when you bloom your coffee. And we roast in Berkeley at the Co-Row facility there. Which means I have to book time in the facility to do that. So in order for me to get on a good roasting schedule, I need to know what your coffee habits are. And if you are a customer, if you're planning on being a customer, if you could help me with letting me know what your coffee habits are, that would be awesome. And I will reward you with 10% off your next coffee purchase anytime in February. When you take the survey, there's a little coupon code that'll come up on the end. So there's a link there to the survey. And if you're interested in doing any more of these kind of virtual brewing type tip classes, or if you think maybe a Facebook group would be helpful, anything that would help you, help you be a better coffee drinker or a more well-informed coffee connoisseur. Those are the kinds of questions that are in the survey, because I want to be able to help you
enjoy your coffee
as much as I do.
Yeah. Other questions? Tasting notes?
What do you think of the Peaberry?
I like it.
Unmute if you'd like to ask a question.
Hey, Kelly, you already know I like Peaberry, right? When I first had, it's like the best stuff that they make over there, I think. I do notice though that the caffeine content seems high on this, because I always get this little buzz. It's like this magical bean.
Kevin, might that be because it's your 5th mug of coffee this morning?
Who's counting, man?
I've been watching you.
It's funny you say that, Philip.
Hey, better than alcohol, I'm telling you, man. It's more pleasurable.
Well, on this side of the day, anyway.
Yeah.
I had a gentleman from Philadelphia contact me, and he wanted some samples. So I sent him out some samples, like 6, right? And so I called him up. I said, hey, did you get the samples? And he, oh, yeah, I just finished having them, actually. I was just about to call you. And I said, oh, great. Which one did you try? And he said, oh, all of them. And he was talking a mile a minute. I'm like, you had all of them? And it wasn't just like he made a little bit. Like he made all of them and drank them all 6 cups, like full cups. And he's back east, and I was calling at 3:30 Pacific time. I'm like, I think you might be up all night. He's like, they're great. I'm ready to place an order. I said, well, that's great, but you're going to be up till tomorrow.
Folks, I'm gonna need to close this out. We're coming up on 90 minutes. Again, we're gonna run that fully Margaret Howell edited video at the end before we end the meeting. But a couple of notes. First, Kelly, a big thank you to you and William for your work.
Really sad William couldn't join us. But
likewise. Carrie, thank you for the introduction to your twin.
You're welcome.
These two are twins. And I know Carrie very well. So it's kind of surreal looking at Kelly and it not being Carrie. Anyway, so something to get used to. Again, we got lots of great virtual events coming up. If you go to our Facebook page, the Center for Culinary Culture's Facebook page, click the events tab. You'll see all that we have coming up. Next Thursday, we're doing a virtual brandy tasting with some California grappa made by Ansley Cole. If there's one person, you have to point to one person responsible for the California brandy renaissance, it's Ansley Cole. We'll also be tasting Pisco Lojia, a couple of piscos, which is a Peruvian brandy. That's Thursday night. Just go to the events tab, register. What else? We have a virtual wine tasting with a couple of Napa Valley, Napa wine living legends, Russell Bevan and Tor Kenward. That's on the 18th. Another one on the 26th, but that's not posted yet. We'd love to have you with us. Please visit our YouTube channel, Eats Drinks TV. Again, go to YouTube, Eats Drinks TV. See all that we're doing. Carrie, you have a couple of programming notes on what people can find there?
Sure. We have Cocktails, the Grand Tour with Jonathan Pogash, who is AKA the Cocktail Guru.
3 episodes currently up.
3 episodes. We are coming up with Complete Greek with Christina Zenos, and she is a fantastic Greek chef, and she'll be teaching us how to cook various Greek dishes. There's also a few other shows, including Culinary Quickies.
24 episodes of Culinary Quickies,
which is hosted by Philip and Tracy of the Culinary Center for Culinary Culture. And they're quick episodes, but they're not necessarily quick recipes, but it's good stuff.
Yeah,
And
some of them, you understand why kitchens have a couple of dozen people, each with a well-defined role.
Yeah. And then we also have Spirits of Whiskey, which is our podcast that Philip and I host. And we've got some other stuff, a wine show and few other things, so check it out.
Yeah, lots of other great stuff coming up. Lots of great stuff there. Great deal more coming up. Okay, I don't think I've forgotten anything. Kelly, thank you once again.
Thank you, Brad.
Carrie, thank you for co-hosting with me.
Sure.
Thank you to everyone. Watch your inbox. A new newsletter went out this morning. I think it's finished sending. You're all on the list. But lots of great stuff. I'm going to play that video right now, the beautifully edited one. And I'm going to say so long. Enjoy yourselves. We're just going to end the meeting once it finishes screening 5 minutes from now. Thank you all again so very much. Happy cupping.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Here.
Hello everyone, it's great to be with you here. I'm at one of our plantations at our farm in Brazil, and a very pretty plantation actually. And if you see me leaning left or right, it's just to try to get rid of the spider webs. It shows that we care about the plantation and we don't spray it. We're trying organic fertilization this plantation, which is very exciting. Very proud, of course, to share why Unleashed Coffee is different than other coffees and why it's so important to buy from the farmer. And we could talk about our zero water waste processing, the history here being at the farm since 1840, growing coffee since 1875. But today, I would like to bring your attention to what we do day to day. And these steps, they go unnoticed if you buy coffee from a larger seller, wholesaler, cooperatives. So I would really like to emphasize this aspect of buying directly from Unleashed Coffee, buying directly from a farmer. The care with this plantation started actually 2 years ago, a little over 2 years, when we decided to prune it and wait 2 years for the first yield. Then, of course, you take care of the plantation very nicely with all the fertilization and the care that it's needed. And today, I mean, you can see right from the video, very healthy trees, beautiful plantation, beautiful leaves. And so this coffee you're gonna try only in 2022. So the care started back in late 2019 with the pruning and then the proper care throughout the years. And it's going to be this first yield since pruning, and then all the drying and processing and preparing this coffee to send to you. It's just unbelievable to work alongside here my family and all our collaborators who really take pride in what we're doing. So it's not just selling coffee, right? It's not just sending it to the United States. It's really to share with you this care, this passion, what we do here at the farm. So when you're buying from us, you're not just buying coffee directly from the farmer to support the farmer. You're actually supporting all these processes, all this good care, right? When we talk about land conservation, natural resources preservation, sustainability, this is what we practice at their best, right? And I'm gonna go all the way to the end of this row of coffee trees here, and you're gonna see that right on the other side, we have a natural forest with water springs in it, protected by us. So we really take care of the land, of the resources, and we're looking for a sustainable way to produce coffee as best as we can without disrupting nature here at the farm. We can see the results. The farm gets better every year, and we're very proud of it. We're very proud to serve coffee to you. It's just a pleasure. As you can imagine, it's a lot of hard work put into the coffee, and just sometimes you sell the coffee in the commodities market, and it's just commodity, right? It's just coffee, right? And not the coffee that we send to you, not the coffee that we sell to you and share with you, right? This is different. This is exactly what we're trying to do. Bridge this gap between us and what we do best, and you, the folks who can really take care of us, right? Of supporting us. And take a look here at the vegetation. Even on the ground, you don't see the dirt, right, exposed. So that saves water in the soil, preserves, right, the soil further. And I'm gonna just turn myself to the other side here. We have this forest here, which starts here and goes all the way down to a pond that we have. And you're gonna see some other coffee plantations in the back end, in the back there. My father's all the way next to our little truck there. So it is a pleasure, right, to be producing this coffee and all the other coffees for you, to share them with you. So I'm very excited to have another year here. We just finished preparing the 2021 coffee lots. They are actually on the way to the port as I speak with you, and I can't wait to share them with you. I cupped them all. It's delicious, beautiful characteristics, and I'm very excited. It's going to be a great year. I know 2020 was a difficult year to many of us, but 2021 should be fantastic. At least we're trying our best to make sure you drink the best coffees yet produced here at our farm and sold to you directly in the United States. Take care, everybody. So long. Bye.
Okay, so there we go. We're all still here. Beautiful. All right. Again, thank you all very much. And we'll see you back here soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, thank you.